What's up everyone, Trent here. Welcome to the Comics Vault, where I go through the week's comic books and tell you what's good, what's bad, all from my perspective. So naturally it could be varying, it could be different, and that's the joy of pop culture and comics. So it is a big week this week. I have chosen a select few of comics that I really enjoyed. I will do some honorable mentions later, but I'm going to be going through in more detail with these current ones. Starting off with the biggest release from Marvel, the big new event that has been building since 2013 through Thor's comics, War of the Realms. So, War of the Realms, there are so many variant covers. I had to pick up 3 of them from my favorite artists. I got the J. Scott Campbell, the Frank Cho, and the Art Adams. So, Jason Aaron has been crafting this tale for so long, and we are finally getting a payoff. Now, can I say that I enjoyed this comic? Not the first reading. I did not like it the first reading. So, it's written by Jason Aaron, drawn by Russell Dauterman, and colored by Matthew Wilson, and lettered by Joe Sabino. I did not like this when I first read it, so I had to do a double read. And the second reading, I did actually really start to enjoy it. I think I was just taken back so much through the first time that it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting a really big action-packed issue to really, you know, just blow my mind away. But instead we got a more methodical, kind of formulaic, structured chess game which sets all the pieces up. So to me, this actually read more like a Zero issue where we are setting up the players, even though they have been set up for the last 6 years. And I just feel like it was a very, very slow first issue, but then I read it again and I actually did enjoy it and appreciate it for what it was. So without things becoming too slow and too stale, we did get introduced to all the major players within the one page and how that sets up for future stories. The art is ridiculously good. I enjoyed it. It's dynamic and it flows really well. And there are some beautiful pages in here. Let me just try and find one. A simplistic page representing Jotunheim, but just some of the actual movements and ways that the magic is shown, it's very flowy. It doesn't look static and stagnant. And then Malekith's hair, like as you can see right here, it looks like it has actual movement and flow, and that's something that's done really, really well in this. But it is introducing the major players. We get to see some big significant moments, and it kind of plays out and it reads like an introduction to the Lord of the Rings. So I'll just go through the very first page. In the beginning there was only darkness, the great unending nothingness of the yawning void. Then from the south came roaring fire, and from the north swirling ice and mist. So it really tells you that story and sets it up really nicely. And that's something that's done until about the halfway point of this book, and I really enjoyed that. We get to see some significant moments of Odin. All the players are set up, as I said, including, you know, Wolverine, who's now been back for less than 6 months and is already in about 10 books. We get some significant development with Loki that I did not really enjoy. Once again, he died. It's Loki dying for like the millionth time. And then the solicits say Loki's story isn't ended. Of course Loki's story is not ended, but the way he died as well to prove his loyalty to Lady Freya was very weird, to have Luffy kind of eat him. But very gruesome, a gruesome scene. Let's just very, very gruesome. Like you can see there, Luffy is very much enjoying eating his son. But I did enjoy it, especially once everyone finally arrived on Midgard. Malekith bringing his army, the Enchantress, Aryo Dagger, Curse, Ulik, and then some of the angels, and riding a white Pegasus tiger kind of thing. So I did enjoy that. Whilst it wasn't the issue I was expecting, there are some great moments. We get to see why they are such a threat. Like the Avengers assemble, Malekith's giving his, you know, over-the-top villainous monologue, and he's not even finished, and Cap just throws his shield and whacks him in the head. Does the Avengers assemble cry, but instead of assembling, Luffy comes in and boom, blocks him off. So before the heroes could get started, which is kind of what I was expecting, something happened that prevented them from getting a move on. Whether it was Malekith versus Loki and Doctor Strange intervening, there was just so many different things going on that it will set up for the future stories. And we have the big kind of story development where Thor has been separated from everyone, and the only way to get to him is through the Black Bifrost or some other methods because the Bifrost has been destroyed. I don't know whether a nice little zero issue would have been nice to recap what's happened for the last, 7 years instead of releasing it as a trade paperback, but there is a lot to remember and a lot to take in. It has been a great setup. I just feel like it's a few years too late. And I'm not sure if that's an editorial thing, but I am very much looking forward to what happens in this book. Like, there's some more of the art. It doesn't actually feel... Everyone's saying it's a War of the Realms, but the war's ended and now it's just kind of an invasion of Midgard because all the other worlds are destroyed. So it would have kind of been nice, a splash page where we see all the worlds destroyed. And the army that Malekith did bring did not seem at all like it was a vast enough army, and the heroes could easily take them. I don't know. That could just be me nitpicking, but I am very much excited for it. It is a fun ride. I did end up liking it a lot on the second read, and I hope you all do too, because this is an event that I have been very much anticipating, despite all my nitpicking and whining then. And naturally, with all the variants showing Hela was nowhere to be seen. So it'll be interesting to see what role the Queen of the Dead plays in this, because she's kind of gallivanting out in space at the moment looking for Thanos, last I heard. Now, one of the best issues of comics that has been going around, the best series, is by far the Immortal Hulk. It has completely turned Hulk's mythos on its head, and it's just really great. Al Ewing, Joe Bennett on art is just absolutely nailing it. It's very biblical and very mythological. It's very mythological. And this kind of tells you a story from reading the journals and notes of Rick Jones, who we also get to see being experimented on in Shadowbase. So we get Bruce and Leonard Samson going to explore Shadowbase to find out what's going on and just what they're doing to Rick, and why they are targeting Betty and Hulk and, the military, a shadow organization targeting Hulk. What a surprise. But the way this has just been done, it is fantastic. There's some the art in this has just been absolutely beautiful. Like, some great splash pages right here. Just green monster mayhem. The way they are setting up Hulk, he seems like a huge threat to the Marvel Universe, especially with what's going on in Avengers No Road Home. We're getting really big hints that this could be, worse than the Worldbreaker. But yeah, a really good story. It takes you through various areas, like why Betty... what's happened to Betty Ross. She was shot in the head a couple of issues ago, and now she's nowhere to be seen, and we see kind of like a harpy-like creature up here. So is this another transformation for Betty? All the Hulks seem to be going through a new transformation phase whenever they die. So, and they all come out at night, so this kind of leads to this Devil Hulk persona that's been rumoured. But great script. I'm really enjoying it, and a very, very interesting final page that is paving the way for the return of a great character and a great Hulk. But this time, he's not in Hulk form, he's instead in Bruce's form with a really creepy smile. So yeah, Al Ewing is doing a great job on this. Joe Bennett penciling, Rui Jose is inker, Paul Mount's colorist, and Corey Petit as the letterer, with the amazing Alex Ross on covers. You need to be picking this issue up if you are not a Hulk fan. This is always one of the best comics of the week, and just the way that they are writing Hulk, he's so sinister. He's not the Hulk you remember, and seeing him interact with Samson's trying to figure out why Hulk is acting like this, and he's communicating with Bruce. Bruce is the same Bruce. He's even more worried about the Hulk when the sun goes down now. So yeah, it's a really great take, really fantastic art. It's a horror comic without being a horror comic. Speaking of Alex Ross on art, Captain America, it is consistently a very, very good book. It's a slow burn, and that's okay. It's telling you about... It's dealing with the aftermath of the mess that was Secret Empire. The Earth has lost faith in Captain America. It is kind of setting itself apart from the rest of the Marvel Universe with what's going on in Avengers and all the other events where Cap's, still portrayed as a hero. This book is breaking him down again, instilling that doubt that the nation has. And Ta-Nehisi Coates and Adam Kubert are doing a great job. The art is amazing. The story it shows that Cap is kind of he wants to stand by his morals, but he's kind of questioning it because he's incarcerated in a prison at the moment that's run by Baron Wolfgang von Strucker, who's been pardoned by the government. Really? A Nazi getting pardoned by the government? Come on, people. But yeah, so there's a lot in play. We get to see the superhero team of women that is going to help Steve and trying to help him from the outside, with the Dryad who's leading things, this mysterious Dryad who's very reminiscent of Black Widow. But you can see them there. I'm enjoying it. Seeing Steve work with the prisoners and helping the wrecking crew inside is fantastic. And we are learning more and more about just what this conspiracy is, why Ross got murdered. They're slowly piecing it together. I think it's going to have a really big payoff. I don't mind it being slow. It has very much vibes for me from the Brubaker run back with Winter Soldier, which is excellent. I'm loving it. It's better than the Captain America stories for the last few years. But yeah, it's breaking Cap down, and it's just showing that no matter what steps he takes, the organization that is being run by the Lucans and Wolfgang von Strucker is always one step ahead. At the final page, we get to see they've twisted media articles and media videos to show Cap in a really bad light, as if he is still the Hydra Supreme, which he is now on the loose. So who knows what's going to happen there. It's a big jigsaw that's slowly being pieced together. And yeah, again, Alex Ross on covers, fantastic. Sticking with Marvel, I think I do have one DC book in this. Yeah, sticking with Marvel. And actually, 2 Rosenberg books. Uncanny X-Men, issue 15. I am enjoying what Matt Rosenberg's doing with X-Men. He's building up what's been broken down for the last 10 years since House of M, and even a bit before that. But he is bringing the team together, and they are interacting like X-Men should. Even though there are still things I'm not liking, I like that he's trying to hit the reset button, but not do it as a kind of instantaneous thing. He's writing it into the events that are going on, because we've got the Age of X-Men that's going on separately. So this story is going to be kind of filling out with the remaining X-Men to that point, which I think is happening in July, where the X-Men and the Age of X-Man teams will eventually come back together. So Scott's on a path to redemption. Salvador LaRocca is on art. I hated the art in this issue. I do not like it. For the way he's doing the lips and faces, it's like they've got Botox or plastic surgery. Let me just find a really weird scene. Yeah, I made fun on this on Instagram, but it's just very, very, very weird. The action scenes and action sequences are great. He gets some really great dynamics in there, especially Wolverine back in his brown costume. But overall, I'm not a fan of the art, and some of the story progression is off. Like here, we see Scott get hit in the back of the head, and then the very next page, completely across the other side of the field. So there's just that inconsistency that's a little bit off-putting. But I am enjoying what they're doing. I don't like the way they're portraying Hope at the moment. Like, she's taken over Cable, but doing things that Cable would not really do per se. She's just become like a terrorist, whereas Cable, even though he did some reprehensible things, he still had a moral code. And yeah, Hope gets stabbed right through her chest, but you know, she survives because MacGuffins. But yeah, I'm not a fan of that kind of story, but there's enough in here to still instill hope with me, and I am enjoying what they're doing overall with the X-Men. This was just a very missed issue for me, but yeah, it's hit and miss. There's some things I like, some things I didn't. I love the interaction between Dark Beast and Scott. Dark Beast, who's playing his own game, slowly doing things of his own whim, but still trying to prove that he's trustworthy to Scott and the current batch of X-Men, and he did that by fixing the New Mutants who were possessed by Warlock, and he's now put Warlock in one of Jamie Madrox's duplicates. So he's doing good things, but he's also doing terrible things as well. So yeah, interesting. I am enjoying seeing where they're going. Some really good kick-ass moments with Wolverine in here. But yeah, Rosenberg, he's on the right track. He's doing some good things, but there's also some things that I don't think this is entirely his fault, but it's just not. It's not there yet. He started off. Rosenberg started off really well about around issue 11, when Scott and Wolverine first came back. But the last issue, 2 issues have been kind of teetering. But overall, I still am enjoying what is going on with the X-Men at the moment, because they're building him back up into something that's special and awesome. And I can't wait to see what Remender does when he comes in. Another Rosenberg title, which speaks for itself, Punisher. Punisher issue 10, fantastic story. I'm loving the arc that's going on at the moment, the war in Baglia, I think it is, where it's Frank who's escaping a prison in Baglia and trying to go after Zemo. It is simplistic story, but the art and just the grittiness of the entire thing is fantastic. The art is done by Zeman Kudransky, and the coloring by Antonio Fabela is amazing. It is gritty, it's cinematic, it's violent, it's brutal. It's exactly what Punisher should be. It doesn't need a deep plot. I'm enjoying seeing this prison riot and this escape from prison and, you know, waging war against everyone in Bagalia. Everyone's a criminal, so Frank's holding nothing back. It's fantastic. It's what the Punisher should be. And to do this without a Max imprint is great. I love the heavy inking, particularly for Zemo's mask and Jigsaw's face. It really shows just how bleak the situations are and how distorted and warped Jigsaw is. The script, even though it's simple, there are some great moments, particularly with the witty banter that Zemo has. He's just an asshat, and it's fantastic. I'm loving this series. It's got Punisher with a freaking tank. Punisher with a freaking tank with the Punisher logo. You can't ask for much more. It's violent, it's simple, and it's Frank just going on a rampage. And I don't care that it's going super slow and the storyline's been going for 10 issues with kind of no resolution. This feels like Act 2 for what'll be a 3-part story progression. So I'm loving it. I hope everyone else is loving it, because and this is something I haven't done for a while, is count down to when there's the next Punisher comic. And I'm telling all my mates at work, you need to get this Punisher series. It hasn't been like this since the Greg Rucka run in 2011. So get on it. And finally, finishing up with the DC title, there are some honorable mentions for DC. Harley Quinn is actually back on track to something that I'm kind of enjoying. Female Furies had their 3rd issue, and that's kind of changed my mind a little bit. I didn't like the first 2 because of the ridiculously characterized Female Furies and, you know, Generals of Apocalypse. Darkseid was ridiculous as well, but this kind of brings it back, and we finally start to see some accurate representation of Big Barda, but it's still not doing anything for me. But yeah, Justice League. Scott Snyder, he's doing no wrong. It's a great story. We get to learn more and more about what the totality is, what is going on with the Legion of Doom, and why the superheroes have been trapped in the 6th dimension. So, Jorge Jimenez on art, and Alejandro Sanchez, I'm Australian, forgive me with the pronunciation, I'm terrible with it, on colours, and Tom Napolitano on letters. So we get to learn more about what is going on, why the heroes are trapped in separate pocket dimensions, why Superman's been trapped away from everyone, and it's all because of the World Forger, who is related to, oh, what's the name? I can't remember the name. The woman that they've been going after the entire time, I cannot remember the name, but forgive me. It's all related to that, and the World Forger is pretty much blaming the heroes for destroying the source wall, and you know, bringing in this force that's going to bring doom to humanity. So he has created this pocket universe in the 6th dimension that is utopic and perfect, without any crime, anything bad happening, and wants that to be the new world. So he wants the heroes to save all the good people from Earth, and all the bad ones, you know, stay and get destroyed. So it's interesting that there's a lot of moral kind of questioning coming up, and we get a really good meeting in the mind of Martian Manhunter between the League and it has to be a unanimous decision. They go for a vote as to whether to sacrifice or save the world, and naturally they don't agree with the World Forger, and the World Forger basically says, you're bringing doom onto the world. So it's it's very high concept, some really good art. We get to see Mxyzptlk get a different shape, and instead of being a reality kind of changer and imp, he's a reality destroyer. And there's some really good scenes where it implies that the sixth dimension is virtually, you know, the writers and creators, because you see there, it's the pencil erasing the story. So I am enjoying it. It's a wild, crazy ride. It's something that you do have to go back and read a lot of issues to understand what's going on. Perpetua, that's the name. Yeah, I knew I'd get it. But yeah, it is interesting. It does feel like it is starting to, you know, drag on a little bit, but there's enough in the story to really engross you in each issue. But yeah, if you are kind of forgetting what's happened earlier on, which I kind of am, I need to go back and read it. Not as bad as Doomsday Clock, though. It's a really good story, and it'll be interesting to see how the heroes actually resolve the issue, because it is very, very... It reminds me very much of JLA, the first 6 issues of Grant Morrison's run. It reminds me very much of what's happened there. Well, not what's happened, but just kind of the concepts that have been introduced there. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. We get a nice little interesting ending that's happened, where the heroes are sent to a desolate planet, where the World Forger says, you'll regret this, and naturally it doesn't look like it's a nice place at all. It looks like a post-apocalyptic or mid-apocalyptic world, and we get a really interesting revelation on the final page. So yeah, another really good issue. It's been a good week, and even though DC is struggling, and it feels like there's a lot of filler issues because of Doomsday Clock delays, at least the main titles are getting replaced with some really good ones. Like, I'm not really enjoying Young Justice at the moment. It seems like there was some changes there very early on, and we got a really weird Gem World story. But yeah, really good issues this week. I recommend picking up the ones that I showed you. There's still so many more that I am yet to get through, and just figured I have to get this video out. And yeah, please feel free to give me feedback on how the videos are, what you want me to talk about, what you want me to include. One big question, did anyone pick up Major X #1 from Leafield? Did anyone pick it up? Did anyone enjoy it? I need to know, I want to know. It's something that shouldn't be good, and I don't think it will be. So I didn't pick it up, but tell me, did you enjoy it? Is it worth picking up? Because I will go and grab it if you guys tell me. But yeah, anyway, I'm Trent. Subscribe to the channel. Follow our handles at Fortress Nerds on social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Feel free to talk to me. I'm on Twitter a lot more now, so tell me your thoughts about this week's comics and what you're looking forward to next week. But yeah, any feedback's appreciated. Love you guys. Enjoy. You're watching the Fortress Comics Vault. Boom.